Thank you, Keith, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here today and very pleased to have been recently appointed as Managing Director of your company. In the few short weeks since my appointment, I have visited the operations in the Midwest on several occasions. I have earlier this week returned from a visit to China where I met with the Chairman and Senior Management of Ansteel, our major shareholder and joint venture partner in Carrara. I've spent considerable time with key executives of both Gindalbie and Carrara, and I've met with a number of stakeholders including suppliers, industry groups, government and community. I've been on a steep learning curve and I still have more to learn. However, I have a clear view on what Gindalbie and Carrara needs to focus on, and I will share that with you as part of this presentation. Before I proceed with the presentation, I draw your attention to the customary disclosure statements. The resource at Carrara is approximately 2.4 billion tonnes with a grade of 36% iron. It's a large, low strip ratio, high quality magnetite resource that presents options for future expansion. With the rail, port and power backbone infrastructure established as part of the Phase 1 development, there is a sound platform for future growth. We have completed a feasibility study on the Phase 2 expansion, and the economics of such an expansion are strong. The lessons from the Phase 1 development have been incorporated into that study. Expansion beyond Phase 2 looks very feasible given the size of the resource we have. We have a strong partner in Ansteel who bring deep technical knowledge as an operator of similar plants in China. They have been strong supporters of the project over many years and provide off-take security. So the ingredients are there for future success. Of course, our immediate focus is on addressing the bottlenecks in the plant and achieving Phase 1 design rates. The construction and development of the Carrara project and associated infrastructure has been a significant engineering achievement. The safety performance has been good during construction, and Carrara need to ensure a strong ongoing focus on managing safety. To date, Carrara have shipped over 2 million tonnes of magnetite and over 5 million tonnes of DSO. Pleasingly, we have seen Phase 1 design rates achieved through the port and rail system. Carrara experience at Geraldton gives us great confidence that we have capacity to support future expansion. As Keith has said in his chairman's address, the performance from the concentrator has not met expectations. The shortfall has been mitigated through the production and third-party purchases of hematite DSO. DSO margins are healthy at current prices and have assisted in offsetting the high fixed costs associated particularly with rail. I'll talk shortly about the issues impacting concentrator throughput and the work in train to address this. However, before I do, I want to assure you that I believe that the fundamentals for the project are sound. Fundamentally, the process does work. Carrara can and have produced high-grade magnetite concentrate. The issue we face are the relief of bottlenecks that we have discovered as we've moved to full-scale operation and we've shifted from scale test work to a full-scale plant. The issues will be resolved, although they will take time and additional plant and equipment will be required. Firstly, let me make the general point that it is not uncommon to see differences between test work undertaken during the design phase of such a project and what eventuates as the full-scale plant is commissioned and brought into operation. The fundamental issue Carrara currently face is that we are seeing a higher proportion of fines tailings than the original test work indicated we would see. The issue is significant, with the increase being approximately 54% higher. The actions Carrara currently have in train include refurbishment and optimisation of the tailings filters. This work will be completed in December. Carrara have a series of technical trials aimed at optimising the performance of the thickness, the tailings thickness. This work will be ongoing. And Carrara are constructing a wet tailings system that will allow us to partially bypass the tailings filters. This work will be completed in March and will see concentrator capacity increase to 6 million tonnes per annum at a grade of 65% from March next year. Carrara are undertaking ongoing technical work to assess options to address the issues identified. It is important that we get the technical assessment right and we complete it as quickly as possible. The main area of focus is on the tailings bottleneck, although the review will look across the entire system end to end. it is likely that additional thickener, tailings disposal and or tailings filter capacity will be required. Once the assessment is completed, which will be in the March quarter, we will provide further updates. The timeframe from approval is likely to be 9 to 12 months to implement. That will depend on the precise solution and is based on typical lead times for the types of equipment we envisage. Turning to production guidance. Our guidance for the December 2013 half is magnetite production in the range of 1.3 to 1.5 million tonnes, and DSO shipments are expected to be in the range 2.4 to 2.6 million tonnes. Strong performance on rail and through the port has supported higher volumes of KML produced and third-party purchased DSO ore. Guidance for the 6 months to 30 June is based on the successful completion of the current actions I mentioned previously. Magnetite production of 2.4 to 2.7 million tonnes and DSO shipments 1.3 to 1.7 million tonnes. At current iron ore prices, Carrara is expecting to be operating cash flow positive during the March quarter. DSO hematite is delivering solid margins, and we expect the ramp up in magnetite production as we've indicated in our release on Wednesday. As I have outlined, we will require additional time and plant and equipment to achieve design capacity, and as such, additional funding may be required by Carrara. The quantum depends on a range of factors, including actual production volumes and grades achieved, the outcomes of the ongoing technical program, and of course, iron ore prices and exchange rates. Turning to growth opportunities beyond Carrara Phase 1, we have completed a feasibility study on the Shine DSO resource and are currently assessing the best options to deliver value to shareholders from Shine. As I mentioned, Carrara Phase 2 will leverage off the infrastructure in place from the Phase 1 project. The rail line is in place, port capacity is in place, as is the power infrastructure. We have completed a feasibility study and the economics are robust. Lodestone is a large-scale magnetite deposit. We are evaluating additional DSO targets, which we believe will improve the economics of Lodestone, and we are assessing options to crystallise value from this project. Our regional exploration program across our extensive tenement holdings is focused on identifying additional resources similar in scale to Shine. I recognise and acknowledge that this has been an extremely tough few years for Gindalbie shareholders. However, I think it also needs to be recognised that much has been achieved in establishing a large-scale, long-life operation with options for expansion. Carrara have an ongoing technical program to develop a clear plan to resolve the major bottleneck issues. I am confident that the bottlenecks can be overcome, but as I've said, that will require time and additional plant and equipment. We have the continued strong support from our partner Ansteel. I believe that the 2013 AGM will ultimately be seen as a turning point for Gindalbie and Carrara. I want to assure shareholders that I am working with Carrara and Ansteel to ensure there is focus on developing and then executing a clear plan to deliver. Only when we deliver will we regain the confidence of investors. Our priority for the next 12 months will be to bed down and optimise Phase 1. We will be working to maximise the value of our Midwest position, Carrara Phase 2, Shine and Lodestone, leveraging off the privileged infrastructure and resource holdings we have. We will build on our strengths, an experienced team, local knowledge and our strong relationship with Ansteel. I thank shareholders for their support and I look forward to delivering positive outcomes for shareholders over the next 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. While the formal part of the meeting has closed, I would welcome any questions that shareholders may have with respect to either Dale's presentation or other issues that they would like to raise at this time. The same process will apply if shareholders do have questions. They can feel free to ask those questions. If you could keep those questions down to 2 and to state your name and who you're representing at this meeting. So do any shareholders have questions for either Dale or myself? If you could direct those questions to me in the first instance. Thank you.
Derek Miller, Australian Shareholders Association. Thanks for the interesting update, and from what I know, plants like this, the other two in Australia, having problems like this is not unusual. That's the Savage River plant and the One Steel plant, and I hope you can overcome them. My question, though, relates to over the time frame since I think 2005 that work has been going on, or design work has been going on this. I guess there's been a number of iterations and a number of different people involved. Now you're in a sort of, what I understand is a design dilemma problem. I wonder whether there's anyone given any thought to going back to the original designers that did the first work and sort of see what they think with the problem that you're in now and what information they would have on it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Look, the team at Carrara and the team at Gindalbie and Amsteel are all actively looking at design and design changes and iterations that occurred over the course of the life of this project, right from the design stage and through. What has happened, what in fact is causing some of the difficulties, the test work that was done, as Dale mentioned in his presentation. The outcomes of that test work haven't been the exact same once we've gone into a much larger scale production. So it's now a matter of resolving how we change or add to the process or infrastructure to deal with those changes. So certainly every lever is being pulled with respect to identifying solutions to what is currently there. Many of the steps that are in place and are funded to be funded through and implemented through to the end of March, in fact, will go a long way to resolving the issues. And the constraints that will remain after that, we believe, will be mainly capacity issues. Actually, the plant itself is actually operating to produce the appropriate quality material, or can be operated to produce up to 68% material. It's a matter of ensuring that we get the volumes through that plant in the appropriate time to reach design capacity for the whole plant. So certainly your issue is one, and the technical specifications and designs are being very closely reviewed and worked on.
John Quilty, I'm just a private shareholder. I too would like to congratulate you and thank you for, I think, a great job you've done in getting this very challenging project up. My question is, looking to the medium to long term, to what extent does the lack of a deep water port in the Midwest constrain the ultimate expansion of Gindalbie, of your operation? And do you foresee any resolution to that lack of a deep water port?
Well, thank you, John. Currently, you'll all be aware, we're shipped through Geraldton, and our capacity is at 8 million tonnes, and mix of magnetite and DSO. That's what we're targeting to ship through that port. We have the capacity, though, both on rail or with some amendments, but basically the capacity at the port to actually ship 16 million tonnes. So if we go to stage 2, we can effectively double the size of our plant and operate it through the same infrastructure that we have. So up to that stage, there is no real limitation on our capacity. There is further capacity at the Geraldton port, but other operators have control of that capacity. The limitations of not having a deep water port, such as what was proposed at Oakajee, we do not see as major constraints for us for the next 8 to 10 years. We believe we can double our capacity quite readily with the current infrastructure, and we believe that with some rejigging we could actually extend that further, and certainly with the cooperation of other parties, which would be subject to negotiation, that is an option for us in the future. So in my mind, very little constraints are imposed on us by the lack of Oakajee. If we were to take this up to a 30 million tonne project, which is certainly feasible on the basis of the resource and reserves that we have, then we would more likely be under pressure to have a larger open water port. At this stage, that's not in consideration, but it is certainly something that would be looked at in the future as we move forward.
In your annual report, you say about how the poor performance of the company is because of the experience of the global financial crisis, negative market sentiment, high Australian dollar, overheated construction market, and volatility in iron ore price. Well, the business is run by people, though, and I was wondering where I know the buck stops with the board, but when it comes to the decisions that have been made in the past that have led to this poor performance over the last 5 years, has it been
the board, or is it management who've been making these poor decisions?
I don't accept that there's been many poor decisions actually made with respect to the plant or the operation of the company. What we have encountered has been a number of issues have arisen through the construction phase. The construction of the plant occurred at a period of time when there was exceptionally competitive marketplace for people, for talent, and for materials. That caused some delays. There's no question about that. It also caused so the management team did the best they could under the circumstances in which they were working. I don't believe, in my mind, there was any poor decisions made that individuals or the team could be held accountable for in that process.
Has anyone been let go or shown the door?
Look, in an organisation such as Carrara and at Gindalbie, there has been clearly staff turnover. Some people are there for construction phases, some people are there for operating stages. Many of the people involved have been contract people involved in the construction of this. There's clearly turnover in any organisation, and we are no different than any other organisation. Any further questions?
Steve Yeoman, minor shareholder. $230 million 2 months ago you went to the market for, and you had a solution that was due to be complete the start of December. Has that solution changed at all? Has the money been spent? What is the plan?
Well, the plan with respect to that is very much as has been outlined by Dale in the progress. That money has been committed. It has been spent. It will be what enables us to improve the capacity of this operation through to the end of March. So yes, there has been expenditure. Yes, there has been commitments, and yes, the plant operations are progressively improving because of the expenditures being made. Essentially, this is about debottlenecking the processing plant at various stages, mainly caused by the tailings capacity, the capacity of the tailings system to handle the ore that has been delivered to it.
Nobody else is going to ask. And so, the actual design change or modification that was proposed 2 months ago, I assume that failed.
Look, on the technical side of this, no, the design change 2 months ago didn't fail, but I will get Dale to answer this. He's more detailed across the technical issues associated with the plant.
Okay, thanks for the question. Look, I think what we're seeing here is not untypical to many projects. As Carrara are developing the mine, they're running up the plant. You're learning more information all the time. Now, the latest technical work with this ongoing program has identified that the remedial actions that have been already put in place will get us to 6 million tonnes per annum by the end of March. So that's the focus, and we're driving that very hard. But based on the latest work, we're flagging that we're going to require some additional plant and equipment to address the full scope of that issue. We are seeing much a higher proportion of tailings in the finer stream. So the process that we have at Carrara is essentially a series of grinding, magnetic separation, more grinding, magnetic separation, more grinding, magnetic separation. We're getting more tails coming out in those latter parts of the process, finer tails, wetter tails that we need to put through the fines tailing circuit. That's higher than we'd expected. It's higher than we anticipated even just quite recently as we've got into the ore body. That's the issue we have to address. That's the reality. So my focus is to make sure we do the right technical work, we get a solid plan in place, and we'll be in a place to update the market in the March quarter on that plan.
I make just a comment. The other plant in Western Australia, you're lucky you haven't got the problems that CITIC Pacific have got up there with Clive Palmer. Hopefully you're a lot further ahead than that. One brief question is, what sort of weight recovery are you getting when the plant is running normally now?
The weight recovery is broadly as we'd expected. And what we're doing at the moment is we are running at a lower grade target for the concentrate, which in part is dealing with the tailings issue. So, look, it'd be fair to say once we get these tailings issues fleshed out, we'll be then able to run the plant at flat strap and we'll be we'll be able to see really how well it can perform on a sustainable basis. But as I said, the core of the process is working. We are seeing we are able to produce magnetite, and the weight recovery is broadly in line with the design parameters that were put into the plan.
I will comment that with respect to other operations, not on their operations, but with respect to what we do have a very effective infrastructure backbone for this company that will ensure that we can continue to deliver this product to the market effectively in years to come.
Jim Phillips, minor shareholder. Just with the problems, the technical problems, magnetite, to produce it is not a new thing throughout the world. There's other regions producing it. Will we not benefit by getting some of the expertise from the US who regularly produce magnetite?
I will comment on that. We look at, Amsteel are probably the largest magnetite producer, if not in the world, certainly in China, and we have utilised their skills throughout this process in looking at the issues. The issues are reasonably well understood now. It's a matter of resolving the changes we need to make and the investment we need to make to clear up the issues that do exist. So what we did have was an ore body which has reacted slightly differently than what was designed to react, and that's with respect to the amount of tails that have been generated. Magnetite in itself is not overly complex, and this really isn't a magnetite problem. This is a separation problem at the end of that process. We call on the leading expertise that we possibly can get to resolve this, and we have a good team of people looking at it, and we're very confident that the issues that we do have can be resolved and will be resolved.
Thank you. John Quilty again. Pardon my ignorance, but I'd just like a bit of clarification on this tailings issue. Are we talking about a greater quantity of tailings being generated, or are we simply talking about the tailings that are generated have more fines rather than and less coarse material? And if it's the latter, does this then create a problem of drying the tailings out, dewatering and revegetation or rehabilitation?
I'll get Dale to answer that.
Look, it is the latter. So it's not the overall total amount of tailings, it's the size distribution of that tailings. So we've got more going through the fines, the finer stream, which is a wet stream, goes into a thickener, and then the design is it goes into the tailings filters. Now, that's undersized, so what we're putting in place is a tailings facility that will enable us to temporarily to bypass the tailings filters, and we're assessing the options beyond that as to how we solve that problem. That's the part of the technical work program that we've got in place. So as I've said, we may need additional tailings dam capacity, we may need additional tailings filter capacity, or a combination of that. And I guess mapping out the pathway and the program to do that is the work that we've got in train at the moment.
Grant Morris, small shareholder. You say that it's symbolic, mostly symbolic, about having a 50% reducing the shareholding in Carrara to less than 50%. Where do you see the minimum amount of participation in Carrara for Gindalbie?
Look, it's a very good question. We were very happy when we had a structure where we had 50%. The options around going below 50% were really about how do we fund the construction program and the ramp-up program which we were going through. We had a range of options, as you do in these circumstances, and the most viable option, given the circumstances, and the least dilutive option that we had available to us was to, in fact, get a greater capital contribution from Amsteel in this process. They've been cooperative. They've injected the capital at what we believe is appropriate rates and far less dilutive than returning to the shareholders of the company, given the share market assessment. As to the final percentage that Gindalbie would hold in Carrara, we have not formed an opinion on that. We will deal with the issues as they arise, when they arise, and in every decision we made with respect to what is the best interest of the shareholders in mind.
Yeah, my name's John. I'm a small shareholder. I got in a bit late, so you may have already covered it, but what's the expected time frame on stage 2 that you've got?
Stage 2 is not. We have completed a feasibility study on stage 2, and the numbers on that look quite robust. I think, as Dale said in his presentation, it looks. It certainly appears to be a very viable project, and in fact will add a lot of value to the overall Carrara operations to have greater use of the infrastructure backbone from the mine through to the port, and so the rail, and so the substantial efficiencies will be gained for the joint operation of a second plant through the system. We have yet to. Our real focus, though, is to get phase 1 up and working to design capacity. So we have put ourselves in a position where we can move onto phase 2. We have had interim, if you like, or preliminary discussions around when that should occur, but there is certainly no decision being made with respect to when we would start phase 2. Our focus will remain on phase 1, while we will advance the opportunity with stage 2 wherever and whenever we can, because it will be a very big value kicker for the company when that decision is made and stage 2 comes into operation. So at this stage, I can't give you a timeline, but certainly it is. We have progressed the engineering studies, the approval processes, etc., to a stage where, when we are in a position to say go, we can move quite quickly to the construction phase.
Jeff Marley, a small shareholder. Do you see any need to go to the market for more money, or you've got enough now that you're in production and got some cash flow?
At this stage, we have no plans to go to the market for further capital. That will be dictated by a range of discussions, both with AmSteel, with the banks, and with the way that the operations do turn out. We currently anticipate the operation should be cash flow positive by the end of March as an operating entity. There are discussions with our financiers going on about the scheduling of debt and the repayment of debt. So look, that's a decision that would need to be made, taking account of the circumstances that existed at any point in time. Currently, we have no discussions with respect to that taking place. There being no further questions, I would close that session. I thank you very much for your attendance, and you're welcome to join us for a cup of tea outside. The directors will take questions, so all the directors will be available to talk to you. If you have any questions which you haven't asked in this session, feel free to ask those questions of the directors, and they'll give you what information they can that is within the parameters we are able to give you. So thank you once again. Appreciate your attendance, and hopefully we can look forward to a better outcome next year.